Good morning from Sacred Space. It's the 15th of April 2021. It's a beautiful, glorious morning, and I'm just surrounded by so much beauty and light, for which I'm just reveling and joyful in the bliss in the garden this morning. I've been wanting to make a video for the past few days as a kind of an update, because last year on the 27th of April I made a very painful, traumatic video and burnt my teddy bear, which was symbolic of my very highly abusive, toxic, evil childhood. And I wanted to give you an update on where I am at 1 year, almost 1 year later. I guess it's kind of significant that I made that video just after my birthday last year, and I'm making another video just after my birthday, which was on Monday, on the 12th of April. So on that day, I had a beautiful day. My daughter and my best friend Jared had booked an experience for me, which was they took me to visit a woman who's a modern day Viking, and a vulva, which is like a kind of a Viking medicine woman or witch or prophetess or something along those lines. And they took me to visit her, and they had booked a rune reading for me, which was delightful. And so as a consequence, she asked me, what aspect in life would you like to know about? And anyone who knows about psychic readings knows that 9 times out of 10 the client's going to say, oh, it's about my love life. And I try to kind of avoid the subject slightly, because my love life is really quite so bizarre and extraordinarily boring, and most of the time freaking awful, that I didn't really want to go there on the event of my birthday, which I try to make as lighthearted and joyful as possible. But she gave me some very powerful insights, and she said to me, the runes don't read the future, so I won't be talking to you about your future, which I know as as a practitioner of magic, and not really a practitioner of magic per se, but as someone who's studied the occult most of my life and has read tarot cards. If you are gifted, you can indeed see or read the future, but of course the future often has variations in its outcomes. So anyway, I wasn't too bothered by that. I thought, I don't need to worry about the future, let's just live in the present. So she read my runes, and she said that the rune that she had picked out before I even arrived, because she likes to sort of get a bit of an insight into where the client is at, was the rune that means harvest. Oh, Bobo, not now. I'm making a video, Bobo. So we're going to throw a ball in the middle of this video. Look at these guys, look. They're just so naughty. My Charlie and my Beauregard. So anyway, where was I? Oh yes, so the rune she picked was harvest, and I took that as a very lovely, powerful sign, because finally have come to the phase of my life at 56 where I'm wanting to start a new venture and go into silversmithing. And of course, in true Tanya style, because I live in dire poverty, I can't afford silversmithing courses or certainly too old to be taken on as an apprentice by anyone. So I'm trying to teach myself on YouTube, and that's been a bit challenging. But anyway, I'm only at the very basic beginnings so far. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. So, you know, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a few steps, right? So I'm only at the very basic beginnings. So I'm trying to be gentle with myself and not get frustrated, because I need to buy a lot of equipment and tools and learn each process step by step and master it, so that I don't, you know, miss vital information, things I need to know how to do for my new hobby, and which I hope to turn into a business ultimately. So anyway, that's a big, huge fantasy that came to my mind only recently, because I was very ill. I had another very bad gastric event, I will call it, about a month ago, and it was about the 5th time in recent years that I actually thought I might die. So because I'm living with this constant hag of death over my left shoulder, get back bitch, get back, I realised that time is precious and I'm running out of it, and I haven't achieved very much because I spent so many years, decades, 5.6 decades, mired in trauma and horror and depression and complex PTSD and utter filth from people who were sadistic and vicious and cruel, including my own family, who every time I tried to thrive or prosper or even find just some kind of equanimity, completely would rip everything out from under me. And maybe that was my fate or whatever, but I've decided, Tanya has decided, after the last horror, that I can't sustain myself like this anymore. I need to find a way to create things of beauty that spark joy and that people might actually want to buy, so I can have a little bit of extra pocket money each fortnight, instead of thinking, how am I going to afford the lawn mowing, which has been an ongoing horror in the last year, and how am I going to afford food, and how am I going to pay my bills, which, you know, the bills keep rising but the pension hasn't. So I'm trying to find little ways of manifesting a little bit more comfort and ease. I'm not expecting to make zillions of dollars or anything, but just comfort and ease for my old age. Not that 56 is old, but, you know, I'm feeling more and more fragile and my health is getting worse, so there is that. But anyway, this lovely Viking vulva told me, she said, the other rune that kept showing up in the reading was called Flow. And at the end of the reading, because she found out it was my birthday, and that's why Jared and Crystal had booked the experience, she actually gave me a little leather pendant with the rune that says Flow. And I laughed, because I said to her, that's actually really delightful, because at all times I do strive to go with the flow, but most of the time I'm going swimming upstream and leaping into the jaws of the bear, rather than, you know, floundering around in pleasant, lovely shallows, enjoying peaceful, happy, you know, luxurious, comfortable, you know, pleasant times. So anyway, there is that. So the aspect of the reading that was the most potent, and even blew my psychiatrist's mind when I had my debrief with him yesterday. He said, we've been trying to get to the core of that in therapy for 2 years, he said, and this woman has done it in the space of an hour. It must have been a bit frustrating for him, because, you know, it's a bit hurtful to one's ego that some psychic reader can just go, bum, ba-bum and get to the core of the issue. But anyway, she continued on and she said, is there anyone in your life that, that you've been in love with and that you would like to sort of focus the reading on? I said, well, yes, of course there is. I said, but he's not really in my life. But, this thing with us, this connection, has been quite mad and bizarre and has gone on for 7 years. And it's all on me, of course, my madness and my bizarreness. So she said to me, she described him perfectly actually. She said to me, you're normally attracted to men who are very macho and very, very masculine. And I smiled because at one point in time in 2011 to 2012, for 8 months, I hung out with an outlaw motorcycle clubhouse, and I had a great time. Like, I was treated very well, and I walked in there basically off the street, not knowing anybody, because I just thought I might meet somebody that is unusual and that vibes with me, and I might find a partner there, which was bizarre, and it didn't happen. But I was nurtured and protected by the president, so that was lovely. I made some lovely friends. Anyway, so I smiled about that because I thought that is actually quite correct, that I go for macho, wild, uncontrollable, unusual people in general. I do like people who are authentic and wild in their own core and, not afraid to be their own person and express themselves. People like me, kind of thing. But not harmful people. I don't like harmful people. So anyway, so the interesting thing was, she said to me, yes, well, this man, she said, was a total opposite. She said he was actually quite a bit on his feminine side. And I said to her, well, to look at him, you wouldn't think he was feminine. I said he was quite tall and slim, but he came across, at least initially when I first met him, as being quite a gentle, kind soul. I said, but it wasn't very long before, the nastiness came oozing out. I said, but he was actually, quite gentle. And I said, and yes, he does appear to be feminine, I said, because he has very, very long dreadlocks. And they sort of act as kind of a veil around him, like kind of a protective device, almost like wearing a cloak. He's kind of hidden by all these dreadlocks. And I said, and I found that fascinating, and I quite like dreadlocks. So, and he was an Beauregard. He was an attractive man, I said. So there was that. And she said, that veil he has around him. She said, he actually, with you, she said, there's something he has done. She said, never underestimate the power of planting a seed. She said, at some stage in your, however brief relationship or your connection, she said, he planted a seed in you that made you believe that there was no other man for you, that he was the only one, and that no other man, you would not want any other man. And I said, well, that was partially my fault, because I said mysteriously, as I sometimes do, I fell deeply in love with him, and I couldn't bear the thought of any other man coming anywhere near me. And I said, I was dancing at the casino and at a pub nearby for 9 years. I was at the pub for about 2 years till they banned me because they were vicious and horrible. But I said I was at the casino for 9 years. And I said, a man would approach me and they would be so creepy and sleazy and kind of desperate and oozing, and I would just go, get away from me kind of thing. So I sort of sabotaged myself, and part of that sabotage was I was in love with this man, hoping that miraculously, somehow, some way, that it would turn into something nice, which it never did. It never did. So, and that was a source of deep pain for me for many years. I think I'm starting to come out of it and move out of it, which is why I'm making this video, to tell you. Because there are women out there like me going through the same shit, and I want you to know, you will step out of it, but it takes time to work out, you know, where the seed or the infestation was planted. So this lovely vulva lady, she said, go back, think back and analyse exactly where it started to go wrong. Well, I haven't been able to do that because 7 years have gone by and I actually can't remember exactly where it started to go wrong, but I think it was connected to that pub and one of my former friends who was spiteful and jealous and deliberately sabotaged our love, well, at least my love for him. I can't speak to his feelings for me. They've been proven time and again to be false. But there was a moment in time, brief moment, when we could have had a beautiful, loving relationship, and there was so much sabotage going on in that pub and up at that casino. It was just cruel what they did to me. So cruel that in 2015 I nearly ended it all. So anyway, having said that, Beauregard, having said that, I've been thinking about it, and he did plant a seed in me, you know. The vulva lady said it was like he marked you, like a dog marks its territory, actually kind of the equivalent of peeing on you, so that no other man would look at you or come close to you. And she said when men did come forward and show interest, the few that you were, were prepared to give a bit of a chance to, it was like they could sense his scent all over you and that you were claimed, and they would basically take off and run off. And that's exactly what happened. Exactly. So, and she said it's like he didn't really want you, but he didn't want anyone else to have you either. And that's also apparently quite true. So anyway, she said to me, go back and find out where it was that he planted the seed. And I said to her, well, he did plant a seed in other ways too, because although the romance with him didn't fully blossom and develop, he sparked something in my soul, my sense of personal integrity and my defiance. And he sparked something in my soul back then in those days. Now I met him for the first time at the end of in October 2013, very briefly, but then we actually met each other again in, I think it was the 21st, 22nd of February 2014. So from 2014 it was like I hit the ground running. I was like, oh, well, in those days I was dancing and rejoicing what was left of my life after the horror of the wool dispute had ended in 2012 in September, and I was in deep grief, but I was also triumphantly, stoically and determinedly dancing wildly every weekend and, hoping to find a loving partner. 2014 was you know, 2 years after I'd stopped going to the clubhouse where the young guard threatened me with a teeny tiny pistol, so that was awful. And so I was like, kind of like, well, I'm alive and so many people want me dead and wanted to kill me and blah, blah, blah. So I'm just going to live my life as joyfully and wildly as I possibly can. And so I did. And I continued to do that right up until January this year, because we had a year off with COVID, but there was no public dancing. But I went back to dance around about December last year, and then it just went so toxic and awful again at the casino in January. I just thought, I'm done. I have no interest in pushing all my energy out into places where I'm disrespected as a woman, not just myself personally, but all the women there, dishonoured, disrespected, treated disgracefully. I thought, no, I'm not going to tolerate this behaviour. So it made me realise I still need to find a new venue where I can go and dance and have a good time occasionally. I haven't been dancing since then. But it also made me realise that I have to find a way to be creative that can generate a little bit of extra pocket money, as I said earlier. Or if I'm successful, turn into a bit of a business and, oh my goodness, get off the fucking disability pension and be financially independent and glorious in my last hurrah fecundity, right? So where was I going with that? Oh, about the last man that the reader picked up on. So she said to me, he planted a seed in you and he kind of marked you as his territory. And she said, but there was no substance behind it. She said, when you saw him, you see his face, you had this illusion of who he was, and you loved that illusion. She said, but if you held a mirror up to him, there'd be nothing in the mirror. There was completely nothing behind it. It's just complete emptiness. There's no real person behind that. It's just, there was nothing. And she says, you've been breathing life into this idea of this man that's just not there for years now. And she said, you have to cut, you have to cut all the binds. And I said, I've tried that, I've done everything. I'm at my wit's end now because I know it's time to move on. It's been over 7 years now. 7 years is long enough to have an energetic connection to someone that's just not fucking into you. Like, enough is enough. And it's time. It's time that I blossomed and maybe even one day found love again, if I could ever trust in it. So she advised me that every time I think of him, which is every morning when I wake up and every night when I go to sleep, because my heart is loyal and loving and sweet, and it's slowly killing me. But love is the law, people. Love is the law. And even though it's slowly killing me, it's also manifested the most amazing magic in my life. I'm back in my own seat. I'm feeling creative. I'm even making plans to start my own business one day if I can, succeed at my new venture. And as my hairdresser said to me yesterday, she said, there was a time, Tanya, when you told me I will never work again, I am completely damaged, it will never happen, and here you are. Even thinking about wanting to start a business is miraculous, and it is. Especially after my suicide attempt in 2015 and the terrible gallbladder surgery in 2019. It's taken me all this time to pull myself up by the bootstraps and start thinking about, well, I'm alive, I'm alone, don't have any money, I've been robbed of so many houses and businesses, and I'm still in my little housing commission cottage that I've lived here close to 18 years in May, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm just sitting here at the mercy of the most vicious, cruel, sadistic, perverted people. And at the same time, I'm rejoicing in my kind friends who are glorious and who truly love me and truly support me and have kept me alive. They have literally kept me alive for decades and sustained me, and, you know, in my darkest times have pulled me up by the hair to breathe rarefied air and gone, there you go, back into the fray, Tanya, you can do this. And without those people, I wouldn't be making this video right now. Like, it's miraculous. So the vulva said that my former lover, she said, he won't expect, she said when you met him, things happened very quickly, which they did, too quick. And she said he knew that your spirit, your nature, is you're in a rush, you're always in a hurry to go to the next, you know, the next stage of things or phase of things, that you rush through life and you're like this horse that's just run off the field and you're just darting everywhere. And she said you have to slow right down and go through every process and every step and work out, you know, where things went wrong and what you need to revisit and heal that aspect. I don't know how I'm going to do that with him because it's really not in my life now. But it applied to my thing with my new hobby with silversmithing, because you need to go step by step, learn each process before you can get into the next one and the next and the next, because, you know, there's always something else you're going to have to learn, and you're not going to be able to do it till you've mastered the initial steps, you know. It's a bit like mathematics, which I never mastered either. So maybe I've bitten off more than I can chew. Maybe I'm trying to do the impossible. But I've already achieved the impossible. I'm still alive, aren't I? And I'm still a deeply loving, heartfelt person. And that's pretty miraculous given what I was put through. So she said to me, she said, go back. She said, he won't expect you to go backwards and look at each step and each process and to work out where he planted this freaking seed that basically said that he's the only one and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I had a little giggle about that because I thought about it. And he did. He actually did. Typical narcissist, Machiavellian type, actually said, you know, there's no one better than me, and I'm you know, I'm the one. It was all just nonsense drivel coming out of his mouth because he wasn't sincere at all. A sincere person doesn't then shove other women in your face and in a hurtful, cruel way, or bring them to drumming. And it speaks a lot about the woman he was picking up as well. What kind of woman goes to visit some guy she's dating, ex-lover, to stare at her at drumming? What kind of woman does that? Have they got no freaking grace or self-esteem or dignity? It's completely bizarre. So, but I like that the vulva said that he was like a vampire that had just sucked and sucked and sucked and drank my energy, and that at some stage of our relationship, of our connection, we had merged light bodies, and that he was sort of in me and I was in him, and that she said sometimes those kind of mergings can last for eternity, like they are hard to break. And that made me ponder, because why him? he's nothing special. And why me? Because I'm nothing special. So I'm making this video to tell you I'm going to work it out. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And it's in the lap of the gods, because the gods are mischievous and capricious. But they have brought me through so much horror, and I just have to put more trust in the flow, in the process and in the flow. So I had a beautiful birthday on Monday. A beautiful, one of the loveliest birthdays I've had. The last really amazing birthday was my 49th birthday in 2014, fueled by the fact that I was in love with this man, and also that I had done a very kind thing and helped my former friend when she was blind for 5 days after a stigmatism surgery. And so her payment or reward for that, oh God, it's so superficial when you think on it really, but at the time I was just so naive and thought, oh, how lovely and how loving and kind. But her payment was she got the guys and the bands that we used to dance for and follow around at the pubs, the Irish Murphys and at the Elephant and at this Tempo bar. She actually got them to really, really make a huge fuss of me on my 49th birthday, which was only about a month or so after, I think 2 months after I'd been helping her when she was blind. So they made the hugest fuss of me, and it was delightful, and I was made to feel almost like a superstar for a day, and that was a delightful experience, and I've never forgotten it. But ultimately it was false and superficial, because that woman went on to betray me with the former lover and try to deeply humiliate me, and also turned the whole pub against me and got me banned. So there is that. And now it doesn't matter, because I know who I am, and I'm happy, and I've left the casino now because it started getting toxic, similar style to what was happening at the pub back in the day. And I'm not going to do that dance again. I'm done with toxic, evil, perverted, sadistic, cruel people. I'm just done. So I am now focusing on finding something that sparks joy like the dancing did, but that can be monetized, because enough throwing my energies all over, dance floors and, cavorting with the gods. It healed my body, mind and spirit to a large degree, but it was also pointless and expensive, really. I mean, didn't earn me any true loyal friends, and it didn't find me a love partner, and it was expensive in time and in energy, and the little bit of money I spent on drinks. So there was that. The most expensive part was seeping out my energy into these dark, toxic spaces where people would just, consciously or unconsciously, completely drain me or vampirize me, as my vulva lady said about the ex-lover, just suck you of every juicy essence of your core. And I would go home utterly exhausted from these people, and also from hours and hours of dancing and moshing and jumping and jiving, which I actually thought would be good for me physically. I guess to a certain degree it did help, because I'm still alive and I'm still reasonably, I can't say healthy, but I'm reasonably physically strong in my core. Bobo, get away from my cake. He wants my cake. Get off the table. Get off. I'm making a video for YouTube. Get off. Oh my goodness. Anarchy and chaos. Look at him. He wants his mama. Now look, we're making a video for you. Say hello to the people. You know you can't have my cake. Say hello to the people. Say hello, I love you. Say, Mummy, don't worry about the ex-lover twatty man. He wasn't genuine anyway. You've got me and I love you very, very much. And all the rest is bollocks. He's completely right. So the other thing I wanted to tell you was this morning I sold my mother's crystal candelabra, and the man that came to buy it actually said to me, he said, can you tell me, has it been in your family a long time? He was a lovely man, absolutely delightful. I said to him, yes, it was actually my mother's, and I said, I'm selling it, regretfully, because I'm needing money to buy equipment and tools and materials to start making, doing silversmithing, which I've decided I want to do in the hope that I can, make a bit of extra pocket money on the side, or ultimately, if I'm good at it and succeed, start a little business. He said, what a wonderful idea. And I said, yes, I'll be honest with you. I said, I had a very awful, difficult, cruel, evil relationship with my mother, and I said, all these exquisite, beautiful things stared down at me from the walls. And I said, they're mine. I fought hard for them. I said I had to fight a long war dispute of awful stepsisters that got all the houses and, the grander wealth. I said, but I even had to fight to keep these few chattels. I said, but they're meaningless to me now. I said, they sit on the walls and they stare down at me as if to say, so what are you doing with your life? And, they're just empty, and I've had to fight so hard for them, and I earned them. I said, I worked hard for my mother as a child, making, jewellery for her, supporting her in her lifestyle. And I said, and all she did was con me and rob me of everything, houses and land, and interfered in all my relationships. It was just profoundly evil. He said, and he's sort of holding the candelabra to him, and I could see he's thinking, oh, I don't want this toxic energy. And I said to him, but no, I said, don't worry. I said, that is no longer my mother's candelabra. I said, I earned that, and I fought hard for it. I said, that's all I got left after that war dispute. I said, so it is mine. And I said, I'm selling it to you with goodwill, and I'm wanting you to enjoy it. I said, I want it to go to a home where someone will cherish it and admire it and love it and have it on display, and maybe even put it on your table and use it. I said, I haven't used it. I said, I've had it since 2008. So it's just been gathering dust and staring at me like a hag on the wall. I said, and that's not what things are for. If you're going to have something, it needs to be enjoyed and valued and appreciated. And he very sweetly said, I will value and appreciate it because it came from you, Tanya. Total stranger I just met. And I smiled and I said, that's good, because I said, I'm letting it go kind of regretfully, because it is a beautiful piece and I won't be able to afford another one if my silversmithing thing doesn't thrive and I don't make any money, and it's a risk that I'm doing. I said, giving away selling my beautiful things to channel that energy into something else, hoping to make money from it that may not succeed. It's a bit of a risk, but I said at the end of the day, they're just stared at and they're staring at me, and I'm not they have no longer any, they're not sparking joy. They're now quite empty things that I fought so bloody hard for. But I said to him, I nearly died a month ago. I had some horrible illness, and there's so many times I've nearly died that I said things no longer have great meaning to me. I'd rather do things that spark joy and that are creative and make me feel like I'm alive and enjoying what I'm doing and creating things of art or beauty to leave behind when I go, rather than things that my kids are just going to be like, oh, what am I going to do with this, you know? So he then said to me, he said, you do your silversmithing thing, Tanya. He said, and don't give up. And when it gets hard, don't just go, oh, it's too hard, and give up straight away. He said, so many people give up straight away. And he said, some things that are too important and you have to fight for them. And I said, well, I fought for these things with the Will Dispute to the point where 3 years later I tried to kill myself. So I said, there is that. I said, and I fought for love, and that hasn't manifested. I fought hard. I said, the person that I loved didn't even realise that I was fighting hard just by showing up each weekend, going dancing, hoping I might see him in the crowd. It was pathetic, really. But he said to me, this kind man, he said, you are deeply loved, Tanya. He said, you have people out there, he said, you might not even realise who deeply, deeply loves you. And he said, and they might not show it in ways that you would normally relate to. He said, but you are loved. And I said, oh yes, I know. I said, I had the most beautiful birthday, and I came home from an outing in the mountains in Montville and Mullaney, I said, to the most gorgeous groceries that my friend in New Zealand had bought for me. And I said, I realised, I said, how powerful and determined and loving and my friends are, and how cherished I am. And he smiled and he said, yes, he said, you will meet so many awful people out in the world. He said, I know. He said, I was raised in a kid's home, and he said, and I had a hell of a life, not so much when I was in the home, but when I left, and so much awfulness. He said, but he said, there are truly good, kind, lovely people out there in the world. And I said, oh yes, I do know that. I do know that, and I am finding them. So he was just a most gorgeous man, and he said to me, it was just like a soul connection where you just click. And he also said to me, he said, he said, my happiest time in my life was when I was on my own. He said, there was no fear of somebody being with you who was false, who might be cheating on you, lying to you, robbing you of your money and assets. There was no instability. He said, I was just doing my thing, living my best life. And I laughed, and I said to him, yes. I said, I've been on my own for decades. And I said, I have this idealistic fantasy idea that I want to be with a partner and have a partner again. I said, but I can't trust in it. I said, I just don't have any trust. I said, I've had so much cruelty and people being sadistic and viciousness and hurt. I said, I can't do it. I said, I turned around and I pointed to my garden. I said, I have everything I need here. I said, I don't actually need a partner. I said, look at my garden. I said, it blesses me every day. I said, and I have my pets and I have the most beautiful friends. I said, and yet I'm pushing myself, wanting this love from another human being, this relationship that has never manifested in 56 years, so why should it manifest now? And he said to me too, he said, yes, he said, I feel the same way. He said, I was better off when I was on my own. And he had a beautiful wedding band on with the most beautiful diamonds. Actually, I admired it straight away. I said, oh, that's the most exquisite wedding band. You know, but it's not about money. You know what was lovely about him? Like, he was obviously wealthy, but he wasn't about the material things either. Like, his spirit just shone. He said the same thing. He said, no, it's about, you know, being safe and being sane and being surrounded by people who you can trust, who genuinely love you and that you can trust in that. He said, don't let go of the hope. He said that there is love out there for you. He said, there's someone out there for you and you will have to be able to trust in that. And he said, and don't close off your heart. He said, because there is someone out there for you. And I just thought that was an incredibly loving, kind thing for a complete stranger who'd come to buy a chandelier and then kind of hesitated when he heard that it came from a very toxic person. And I said to him, no, you be blessed with that chandelier. I said, it's from me. It's me wanting it to be going somewhere where it's valued and cherished and adored. I said, because that's what things are meant to be. You're meant to use them and enjoy them, not have them stuffed on top of a cupboard gathering dust, feeling like it's a hag hanging off the wall going, when are you going to get a life? And even he had to laugh. And he said to me, he said, you'll succeed in your business. He said, you've got a great personality. And he said, and you've got a sense of humour. And he said, and people like that. And I said, oh, yes. I said, when I had my business many, many years ago when I was with my husband, it was a successful business. I said, because people used to queue up all around the corner of the shop, I said, on Friday and Saturday nights. And I said, and they'd come in and I'd be like, what are you doing over there? And I'd engage with people and they really loved it. And I said, and my husband would come out and be like, oh, what do you want? And I said, you can't talk to customers like that. People don't want to be treated like shit when they're handing you their money, but it's an energy transfer. I said, especially in a food shop, I said, they're buying food to nourish their bodies. It's life affirming, it's life enhancing. You don't want to hand money to someone and get food back from someone that says, what do you want? Oh, I said, that was the beginning of the end of the marriage, really. I said, when I realised how utterly disrespectful and gross he was. I said, especially when he was a chef. Like, he was trained to give better customer service than that. Anyway, having said that, that's in the past now. But he said to me, no. He said, you have a great personality and people really love that and respond to that. And, you know, when and if you get your business up and running, he said, I think you will do well. And do you know what? I thought to myself, what a lovely, kind, encouraging, nurturing human being. So I got inside and my heart was palpitating with like joy and excitement and nourishment. I felt nourished and I thought, what a beautiful soul. So I friend requested him. He probably won't accept the friend request because, you know, merging boundaries with buying and selling on Marketplace, you don't generally look for friendships. But I did make another nice friend with another lady on Marketplace recently. So that's the other thing. Like you said, there are lovely people out in the world and you do find them. So we'll see about whether he accepts my friend request or not. If he doesn't, it doesn't, it doesn't matter. I have received his messages of kindness and wisdom. And it's a beautiful thing. So then after that I went out into my garden and I picked a beautiful rose that had bloomed on my birthday. Hadn't quite opened up yet, but it was blooming. And it's a rose that has struggled for years. It's meant to be a rose that's suitable to the subtropics, and it's bred up in Toowoomba. It's called a Brindabella. I paid a lot of money for this rose. and it's struggled to stay alive for years now, and bits of it have died, and I've had to like pull bits off, and each time I thought this rose is going to die, I've lost this rose. But on my birthday it bloomed. So today I waited for it to open up a bit more, and today I picked it after I had that interaction with that lovely man. I picked this rose, and I thought it's a symbol of the rose is flowering in her last hurrah as she clings to life, and I'm flowering in my last hurrah, the last phase of my life at 56. I don't know how many years I have ahead of me, but I'm going to make something of myself at last, even if it's only trivial things like silversmithing or writing or making these quite strange videos. I'm going to thrive. And a year ago I burnt that awful memory and that teddy bear, which was a symbol of that trauma and memory, and it was an intense video and very painful for me personally to make, and for those of you who've watched it, the 194 people that watched it. I kind of have a feeling that out of the 194 people that watched it, one person has gone back and repetitively gone back and watched it over and over again, because I don't see why that video would have harvested 194 souls to watch it. It's a bit strange. But it was a powerful thing that I did. Letting go of the attachments to the past. Or as my former lover had wanted me to do, decluttering. That was one of the seeds he planted. He said, you need to declutter your life. And I said, well, you've been so toxic and awful, my decluttering will start with you. Which I didn't really mean, because I was deeply in love with him, but anyway. And so it is. He's been decluttered. All the awfulness from the last 7 years has been decluttered. I burnt the teddy bear a year ago. The year before that, a couple of years before that, I burnt my wedding dress that I had kept precious all the years. I sold my engagement ring. Only got $150 for it, which hurt. I think that was in 2016. So it's been a long, slow process over the last few years of letting go of things that no longer had any intrinsic meaning or spark joy or had connections to traumatic events in my life or the most foul treachery. I thought, why am I keeping these things that nurture and honour these bestial people that were evil and dirty and cruel and perverted and vicious? So I let go, and I've been letting go constantly. So after the wool dispute, after the video last year where I burnt the teddy, that was on 27th of April, a few months went by and I made contact with, the former lover who I still had a vague hope for, which is ridiculous. I know it's ridiculous. And he actually accused me of sleeping with the guy that started the drumming group that we go to. And I was like, what? Like, how adolescent and crass. So that was a big wake-up call, because I thought, why am I holding on, loving a man who's so adolescent and crass? He has not evolved past the age of 15. And if that's his kind of attitude to women, he's always going to be 15. And put me down and delegitimize me and dehumanize me and treat me like I'm just some dumb, worthless slut, which I'm none of those things. None. I'm not dumb. I'm not worthless. I'm certainly not a slut. So as my mother would say in German, and I don't like to honour her very often because she wasn't a very nice person to me, but in German they say, weg damit. That means get rid of it, just throw it away, let it go. Weg. Ooh. Weg. So I'm weging damit. So anyway, the funny thing was, a couple of months after that happened, because I was very, very angry, very, very distressed, that I had poured so much love and emotion into someone that was just so debased. I mean, he's the debased one, not me, to behave like that. And there's fault on both sides. I mean, I'm no angel. I mean, what kind of idiot keeps calling a man that treats her like shit anyway? Like, hello? Really? So anyway, we must find out where the seed was planted and root that seed out and throw it down on the ground and watch it fester and wither, because it doesn't belong with me. It's not loving, it's not kind, it's not nourishing, it's not nurture, it's not cherishing. It's like the same with the crystal candelabra. You know, what good is having something if it doesn't feed your soul, and you know, that you can look at and think, oh, that's so beautiful, I'm so happy I have this in my life. You know, relationships should be the same. They should feed your soul. They should bring you bliss and joy and comfort and harmony and gratitude, and most precious of all, they should bring you peace. Peace, and knowing that you have someone by your side that you can trust to be loyal and faithful and authentic and decent and kind and a bit fun too. Like, let's face it, we want to have fun. But you know, someone that's just so yours and you're theirs, but not in a toxic, needy, codependent, grabby, desperate way, but someone you could put them on a plane and send them to the ends of the earth and know that their heart is for you, and that they wake up in the morning and they think, oh, I love you. And they go to bed at night and they, oh, I love you. And during the day, you know, they'll be washing their dishes and they'll think, oh, I'm so happy I have this person in my life. I love them so much. And that it's a reciprocal thing, you know, that they feel the same, that they might be on the other side of the world, but they're like, oh, I'm so grateful I'm, you know, married or in a relationship with this person. That's how love is supposed to be, not all this other feckless twaddle. Feckless twaddle. So, you have to laugh. It is quite funny, really. I can't even remember where I was going with that. Yes, I remember where I was going with that. So anyway, there was a few months when I was hurting over this man, thinking, why am I giving him this energy? And then it came to me that I had 5 boxes and folders full of will dispute documentation in my study, in my back bedroom. It's a library and a study and a workroom for jewellery now, and where I keep my books and all my bits and pieces, you know. And it came to me, I looked up at that top of that bookshelf, and I had all these boxes of will dispute paperwork that related back to 2000, from 2010 to 2012. All this ugliness seeping down from my walls. You could almost see the green oozing slime and the toxicity and the viciousness. And I remembered that my former beloved lover, you know, connection, soulmate, twin flame, whatever you want to call it, who's not in my life now. But I remembered that he did say, you need to declutter, Tanya. So I fucking did some more decluttering. I took all that stuff out, and I had to wade through it because I'm so fearful that there might be something important that I need to keep for future reference or to prove something. Always feeling I have to prove or validate my truth or my complete essence and my existence, which is probably why I make these crazy, bizarre videos, right? And I was like, so I gathered some paperwork that I did keep, which were beautiful letters of support from my friends, and there were some toxic letters I kept from my half sister, because I haven't been able to let go of that yet. She declared me dead in 2012, and I haven't obviously let go of that source of pain. I actually feel like a ball shaped like coronavirus, like this ball with all these spikes put into it by other people, and I'm spinning through infinity with all these little spikes, and I'm trying to flick off the spikes that attach me to these horrible, false, cruel, sadistic people. I'm pulling out spikes, I'm pulling out thorns, I'm pulling out prickles, I'm divesting myself of the pricks. I'm doing everything I can so that I can move through life for the rest of my life until I eventually die, and hopefully for eternity, so I can clean my soul, so I can be free of these painful memories and painful attachments to people who aren't worth the black under my toenail. They're not worth the time of day. They were meaningless in the grand scheme of things, but yet I gave and gave and gave so much time and heart to, and energy to the point where I almost died. Like in the last 7 years, no, the last 5 years, since I survived my suicide attempt on 22nd of August 2015, which was another birthday for me, really, when you think about it. It's when my life began again. I nearly died so many times, and now I have like this realization. I have to clean myself of all those attachments and begin my life yet again. And I'm starting off small. I'm buying a few tools at a time. I need to buy a jewellery saw, and then I'll need to buy the blades that go with it, and then I need to buy the bench pin. I'm being bitten by a nasty horsefly. And then I will learn how to saw things, and then I need to buy soldering, and step by step I'm going to learn, and I'm going to do things for myself. And if I fail, I'll fail magnificently, as I have done in every aspect of my life. And if I succeed, I succeed. And what have I got? What am I wealthy in? Time. The last remaining time of my life. I'm going to make my life beautiful. And the people that weren't on my side or wouldn't stand by my side, couldn't be loyal and couldn't be faithful, couldn't be joyful for me, couldn't wish me well, bye-bye, go be awesome somewhere else. Go on your journey to hell or high water or heaven or wherever you think you're going, and just let me be me and do what I need to do to sustain my existence for the next 5, 10, 20, maybe even 30 years, if I can last that long. That would be a bit extreme, to live to 86. But anyway, my father was 3 days short of 89 when he died. My mother was 83. So I come from people who have reasonable longevity. So I figure at 56, I'll give myself 20 years more of living to do and loving my life. My little birdie just climbed up on me. It's Charlie. Say hello to the people, Charlie. See, the man was right. I am so truly, deeply loved by a birdie. Hey, a birdie. So there we are. I'm going to finish this video now because my birdie wants some attention and my doggy wants attention and my cake is mouldering in the autumn warmth. And I wanted you to see that a year later I'm doing better emotionally, spiritually, physically, if not financially. But once you tap into your inner core of happiness and joyfulness and peace and grace, beautiful things manifest all around you. And there's things out in the ether that I haven't even dreamt of yet, or materialized or manifested yet, but I know they're there. And I know when the time is right, the gods will lift the veil that was put on me by my rotten family, and the last lover will just part that veil, and I will see clearly who is really, really worthy and loving and kind, and who will find their way to me to step up to the mark and say, Tanya, I choose you, you're my partner and you're the one I love. And until that time comes, if it ever comes, I have to be the love and the peace and the joy all by myself with my little birdie and my cake. God's bless you all. I hope that those of you who've watched this video gained some small insight or inspiration into our soul's journey and the meaning of love and life and bliss. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, and I know I rambled on, I went in all sorts of tangents, but I got there in the end. Please like and subscribe. I have a feeling I'm going to have some more juicy goodness for you coming up, perhaps in a year's time. Goodbye. God's bless.